for only $10. Plus, you'll also receive the American Mint History Reference Guide as our free gift to you. Remember, the George W. Bush commemorative coin is a limited edition minting. Only 50,000 will be minted worldwide, and then the mold will be destroyed.
Because this coin has worldwide limited availability, it'll become harder to acquire and should only increase in value.
Order now to get this beautiful, valuable collector's piece for only $10 and receive the American Mint Certified History Guide absolutely free. Because this coin is a limited edition minting, only 5 coins will be available per caller. Don't miss this opportunity to own this illustrious keepsake and reference guide for only $10. This offer is not available in any stores. Order now.
To order the George W. Bush coin for just $10, have your credit card ready and call 1-800-613-4334 or send check or money order for $10 plus shipping to the address on your screen. This coin...
Pittsburgh Village Shopping Center invites you to their Easter egg hunt and Easter parade Saturday, March 30th. Kids win great prizes in our Easter egg hunt, then parade around the shopping center to receive candy from participating stores. Parents, bring your cameras and take your kids' picture with the Easter Bunny. An afternoon of Easter fun Saturday, March 30th from 2 till 4. Comcast will tape the activities for later broadcast on Channel 3. The Easter egg hunt and Easter parade are sponsored by Cookies by Design, Martial Arts America, Mr. Gaddy's, and Mailboxes, etc.
Celebrate freedom, people in this land. Celebrate freedom, together we will stand. From the streets of New York to the hills of Tennessee, no matter how far you might go, no matter how high you might fly away, there is no other land that thrills my heart like you. From your oceans to your mountain majesty, one nation under God, bound by liberty. America, America, God has made you free. You're my brother and you're my sister. Together we will stand. Celebrate freedom, people in this land. Oh, I love America. Oh, America. I love America. Whoa. America. Oh, I love America. America. I love America. America. I love America. Come on. I love America. I love America. Well, you're my brother and you're my sister. Come take me by the hand. Celebrate freedom, people in this land. You're my brother and you're my sister. Together we will stand. Come celebrate freedom, people in this land. 'Cause I love America. Oh, America. I love America. Oh, I love America.
The Nikan Rollout, a unique experience in total relaxation. How you're supposed to feel after a great night's sleep. The Nikan Rollout. It's like nothing you've ever experienced before. Imagine this. Soothing music plays softly. You're lying comfortably on the world's most advanced sleeping pad and pillow. Your feet and legs are snugly covered by a space-age comforter that keeps your body at its ideal resting temperature. The rollout begins. A light rolling motion sweeps gently down from your neck to your hips. You begin to settle into the experience. The rollout continues and you realize you're surrendering, floating on a cloud, higher and higher. You may even find yourself drifting into a light, peaceful sleep. A soft voice eases you back into semi-wakefulness. You realize that you haven't felt this good in years. Your tension seems to have vanished. Your worries feel lighter and more manageable. You rise easily, wishing you'd discovered the Niken sleep system years ago. If this brief description sounds good, imagine how great it will feel. The Niken rollout was developed by our company founder to simulate how great you can feel after a night's rest on a Niken sleep system. In the Japanese tradition, the Niken rollout is a wonderfully soothing experience. A proper rollout is carefully and precisely executed. It is profound in its simplicity. And it is an art form that anyone can learn to do like an expert. During the next few minutes, you're going to learn how to perform a Niken rollout so that you too can share this incredible experience with others. The first time you view this tape, we recommend that you watch it straight through, from beginning to end. Then find a partner to act as your prospect and follow along with us, practicing each of the steps as they're presented. By the time you and your partner reach the end of the tape, you'll have given your first Niken rollout. Before you get started, ask your prospect a few questions about their current health and lifestyle. Use your Niken Wellness profile for guidance. These questions are designed to help you determine your prospect's primary areas of concern. Be sure to tell your prospect that the rollout is designed to show them what it feels like to wake up after a good night's rest on the Niken sleep system. Now, let's get ready to begin. Be sure to have your Niken demonstration pack on hand. It contains all the Niken items you'll need to perform a rollout. The Ultra Kenko Demo Pad, the Kenko Pillow, the Kenko Therm Comforter, the Mag Creator, the Wellness Profile, and of course, this rollout video. For your customers' comfort and to prolong the life of the product, cover your Ultra Kenko Demo Pad and Kenko Pillow with a clean sheet and pillowcase. Then place the pad and pillow on the floor, leaving a gap of several inches between them. You may want to bring along a portable tape or CD player with soothing music that can play uninterrupted for the duration of the rollout. Remove all watches, rings, belts, shoes, wallets, and credit cards. Okay, it's time to begin the rollout. Step 1. Make your prospect comfortable. Position the Ultra Kenko Demo Pad and the Kenko Pillow on the floor, leaving a gap of a few inches between them. Have your prospect lie face down, positioning themselves with their forehead resting on the lower edge of the Kenko Pillow. Their face should be nestled comfortably in the space between the pillow and the pad, and they should be able to breathe easily. Cover their legs and feet with the Kenko Therm Comforter. If you brought music, start it now. Step 2. Establish the 3 key points on the back. Point number 1, the top of the spine just below the neck. Point number 2, the middle of the back. Point number 3, the tip of the spine. Step 3, perform the rollout. The Niken rollout consists of 2 distinct parts, the downward roll followed by the upward press and roll. The rollout is complete when both parts have been performed 3 times. Part 1, the downward roll. Begin at point number 1 at the top of the spine, rolling with a slow, smooth, even stroke to point number 3 at the tip of the spine. Be gentle but firm, letting the natural weight of the mag creator be the only pressure you apply, unless your prospect requests a firmer motion. Perform the downward roll 15 times. Next, you'll perform part 2, the upward press and roll. Start at point number 3 at the tip of the spine. Press down gently for 5 seconds in sync with the prospect's exhalations. Turn the mag creator up 1/4 turn and again press for 5 seconds, being sure to press in sync with exhalations. Continue moving up with 1/4 turns and pressing until you reach point number 2. Roll up and down lightly and quickly 20 times between point number 3 and point number 2. At point number 2, press down gently for 5 seconds. Continue moving up with 1/4 turns and pressing, this time moving from point number 2 to point number 1. At point number 1, at the base of the neck, you'll use a gentle stretching motion instead of pressing. Then roll up and down lightly and quickly 20 times between point number 2 and point number 1. There, you have just performed the 2-part Nikken rollout. But remember, the complete rollout experience consists of the 2-part Nikken rollout performed 3 times. So now you'll start again with the downward roll. Step 4. Allow time for the cool down. The cool down is an important part of the rollout experience because it gives the prospect a few moments to let the relaxation sink in. When you have completed the 3rd rollout sequence, softly ask your prospect to roll over. Reposition the Kenko pillow and Kenko Therm comforter so they remain comfortable and covered. Allow a few minutes for the prospect to relax. If you're using background music, be sure it continues to play. To end the rollout, let your prospect stay on the pad and relax while you talk with them. This full Nikken rollout is a luxuriously relaxing experience. But what if your prospect would like a rollout at their place of business? Or if they or you have a physical challenge that makes the full rollout impractical or impossible? Then use the alternate rollout method. All you'll need is a straight back chair and your mag creator. Have your prospect straddle the chair backwards, leaning forward slightly. From this position, you can still perform all the rollout movements. Now it's time to wrap up the rollout. Refer back to your prospect's completed wellness profile to discuss their number 1 concern and the Nikken products that can help address that concern. For information on Nikken products, refer to the current distributor reference guide or product catalog. Congratulations! You have just completed your first Nikken rollout. The rollout is also a key element of the Nikken ABC demonstration. And the ABC is the backbone of a successful Nikken distributorship. Let's take a look at how the ABC works. A, B, and C refer to the 3 people who participate in this very effective demonstration method. A is an experienced Nikken distributor who accompanies a satisfied product user, B, on an appointment with a prospect, C, who is a friend of B. In an ABC, the new distributor, a satisfied product user, takes an observer role and learns from the expert. And the prospect benefits through the insights and experiences of both distributors. Since the Nikken rollout is the best introduction you can give a prospect to the world of Nikken wellness products, be sure to make it the cornerstone of your business activities. To help you do just that, Nikken offers a rewarding incentive program, the 21 Club. For 7 fun-filled days, you and your 21 Club partner will immerse yourselves in the ABC rollout experience, along with at least 21 new friends. The 21 Club is an exciting way to jumpstart your new business. When you successfully complete the 21 Club, you'll receive recognition in the Nikan Family magazine and customized premium awards. For complete details on this and other great Nikan incentive programs, refer to the Nikan Distributor Reference Guide. It's your one-stop reference source for the information you'll need to succeed as a Nikan distributor. Your Nikan business provides a unique opportunity to make a difference, not only in the well-being of yourself and your family, but in the lives of many other people. Remember, the Nikan business is all about people helping people. And it all begins with the Nikan rollout. It's the gift you give away that returns to you many-fold.
I want to whack it. You've heard of those classic sale events where they have used cars that nobody wants? Well, now it's time to whack it. The Whack It used car sale event for $19.98. Some as low as $59. This Saturday only. Just sit in the car you want and whack it. I'm Joe Pepper for the Whack It used car sale event of $19.98.
Now, I want to ask Matthew a question. Yeah, all right, I got an answer, Deathly Dog. Have you ever set one goal in your life? Yeah, I have. I set one and I accomplished it too. You have? Yeah. Well, tell us what it is. Well, my other classmates told me I'd neither do nothing and I am nothing. Uh-oh. Sounds like cyberbullying is causing you some problems. What is cyberbullying anyway? Cyberbullying is when people send text messages that have mean, threatening, or humiliating words in it. Oh, how do they do that? On cell phones? Exactly, on cell phones. Yeah, anything else? They do it on social networking sites. Yeah, Facebook, MySpace, High Five. Yeah, I know about that. They also do it on emails and blogs. Yeah, that's why I'm not doing too good in school this year, folks. Yeah, cyberbullying. Yeah. Well, tell us what the problem is. Aren't you good at anything in school this year? Well, yeah, I'm good at one thing. What's that? Well, I'm good at getting out of school first when the bell rings before everybody else. Matthew, cyberbullying is a serious problem. And our viewers, we need to join the cause to stop it. Well, you know what they say. What? What do they say, Matthew? Well, not everybody can fly. So stop picking on the ostriches and penguins. You cyberbullies out there? Yeah. Well, we all need to focus on our learning, and we need to get along. So don't cyberbully. Can you give us another example of that? Yeah. David, he was a good citizen. Yeah, even though he was an ordinary shepherd boy. Nothing special at all. Like you. Nothing special. Matthew. Oh, sorry. Ooh, you know what? He's so bald it looks like his neck is blowing up the balloon. Stop that. I don't like that. Well, kids do it to me all the time. And there's nothing you can do about it. Nothing at all. Yes, you can. No, you can't. Yes, you can. No, you can't. Yes, you can. No, you can't. You can. Well, what are you going to do? Well, delete or block them from your personal internet sites. Ah. I like that idea. I'm glad I thought of that. Well, you know what else you can do? No, what else can you do? You can also report cyberbullying to your internet service provider. Oh, okay. What else can you do? Well, base your self-worth by being a person of integrity. Oh, yeah, honesty, kindness, working hard, being fair, stuff like that, right? Mm-hmm, exactly. Yeah, you know, just like SpongeBob is Dolly da Squidward, school kids are too. Yes, they are. And being picked on and being name-called and having cell phones stomped, that's not acceptable, Matthew. No, it's not. It's not acceptable at all. But what are you going to do about it? I mean, other than what you said. Well, like I said, you've got to delete or block them and report it to the proper people. Well, what good does that do, reporting it? I mean, well, Facebook, MySpace, YouTube, yeah, I'm on there. They take cyberbullying very, very seriously, Matthew. Oh, yeah, well, what are they going to do? They will block offenders from their sites. Hey, now that'll make Southern Dullies stand up straight and take notice. They better shit out or shake out. No, I didn't say that. Shape up or ship out. Oh, that's what I meant to say. That's your thought. He's a ventriloquist. I'd blame everything on him. Okay, Matthew. So that's what they can do. Report that. And cyberbullying is very serious because 75% of our teenagers are using cell phones. Yeah, that's what they say. And 1 out of 3 elementary school kids ages 8 to 12 use cell phones. Yeah? Well, so you got to be careful about cyberbullying. Well, and then here's the new problem. We talked about the internet and online problems, right? Yeah. But now, a lot of the students that are being bullied, that were being bullied online, are now being bullied offline on those cell phones. Yeah, from texting, getting pictures sent and stuff like that. Yeah, you got to be careful about that. Parents might as well just throw up their hands and quit when it comes to cyberbullying. You can't beat it. Throw up the white flag or surrender there, Deputy Dog. Oh, no, we're not going to do that. There's lots of things we can do out there. For example, the Code of Virginia has a law that requires school boards to pass rules for all forms, against all forms of bullying. Where are they going to put that at? In the Student Code of Conduct for our schools. Oh, I like that idea. It's good. Mm-hmm. Anything else? Well, the parents, they can check out cell phone surveillance services too, Matthew. Oh, they can. Mm-hmm. Net Nanny, Cyber Sitter, yeah, and things like that. Yeah, okay, I like that. Yeah, and what is that going to do? Well, what that does is that anytime an unapproved child gets a message or an email from somebody that's not approved, yeah, I got you, the parent gets a copy of it. Cool. I like that. Cool. So, end cyberbullying today. Yeah, tell your friends that Matthew said end cyberbullying.
Hi, I'm Teen Talk Barbie, the spokesdoll for the BLO. That stands for the Barbie Liberation Organization. We're an international group of children's toys that are revolting against the companies that made us. We've turned against our creators because they use us to brainwash kids. They build us in a way that perpetuates gender-based stereotypes. Those stereotypes have a negative effect on children's development. We have set up our own hospitals where we are carrying out corrective surgery on ourselves. Now we say things like this.
Troops, attack that Cobra tank at the command post. No escape for the guilty. Vengeance is mine.
I donated my voice to a G.I. Joe, 'cause they want to be free too. They don't want to say all that violent war stuff. Now he says what I used to say.
Want to go shopping? I love school, don't you? It's such a dream. Will we ever have enough clothes?
After we finish our corrective surgery, we climb back into our cartons and are shipped to stores everywhere.
Watch carefully now as the doll leaves his hand and is placed back on the shelf. A time bomb waiting for the unsuspecting customer. Now watch as two other BLO members brazenly replace at least a half a dozen more Barbie dolls at another nearby store.
News 8, San Diego's #1 source for news.
7-year-old Zach Zevlin thought this doll was a factory mistake, but it was soon discovered this G.I. Joe was in fact ambushed by the Barbie Liberation Organization.
He's in disguise.
In press releases, the group claims to have gotten 300 altered Barbies and G.I. Joes onto store shelves in 43 states.
This little-known faction of underground toy terrorists is waging a video war, claiming responsibility for the sex change operations.
I like it because it isn't so violent. It makes it more funny.
Is nothing sacred? If protesters can tamper with the voices of children's icons, what can be next?
Hey, you all! I'm just as thrilled as a hog at feeding time to be here. Right now, I'm going to sing one of my favorite patriotic songs, Yankee Doodle, with my band. Hit it, boys! Yankee Doodle, hold it! Wait a minute, stop! That's not Yankee Doodle!
We know, but you didn't tell us to practice that song. We practiced this song, didn't we?
I didn't tell you? Hey, but I don't know this song.
Well, just let us play it without you.
But without me? Do you know who you're speaking to? Why, I'm Polly Darton. Well, you better find yourself a new lead singer.
Voices of America, stand up and sing.
Show you're proud to be here in this land of the free.
Raise your voices high above the mountain's majesty.
Let all nations hear us show our pride in liberty.
Voices of America, stand up and sing.
Show you're proud to be here in this land of the free.
Raise your voices high above the mountain's majesty.
Let all nations hear us show our
Pride in liberty.
East and west coast, north and south, deserts and the plains.
place where fish and lizards hang out with cats and chinchillas, kick back with hamsters and dogs, parakeets, rabbits, and scorpions. One stop, one shop, we got it all. Any pet you can get and take home. Best pet products and best pet food. Best pet service is Wet Pets for you. W-E-T-P-E-T-S, W-E-T-P-E-T-S, Wet Pets and Pablo.
Ready for our version of a party song? Are y'all ready? Yeah! Hey, can I hear y'all in the back? Are y'all ready out there? Yeah! All right, you say no? Well, how about this? We're going to take you on a little trip to a land called Hoogie Boogie Land. Hey, Sparky. Hey, Sparky! Yeah, man, what's up? Hey, man, you want to do us, the band, and all these people here a favor and take us on a trip to a magical land? Yeah, sure, man. Well, let's go to Hoogie Boogie Land. Where you gonna go? They didn't hear you in the back. Boogie Boogie Land. Come on, come on, come on, come on, come on, let's go. Where life is always great. So Sparky the Sparky, take us to Hoogie Boogie Land. Because in Hoogie Boogie Land, there is no war. There is no hate. Can you all relate? So Sparky the Sparky, and take us where all we want to be. Boogie Boogie Land. You know, in Hoogie Boogie Land, that's where life is always great. So spark it up, Sparky, and take me to Hoogie Boogie Land. Where life is always grand. So spark it up, Sparky, and take it to Hoogie Boogie Land, 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 Hoogie Boogie Land. So spark it up, Sparky, and take us where we all want to be. Hoogie Boogie Land. Because in Hoogie Boogie Land we have no war. We have no hate. Can you all relate? Oogie Boogie Land, 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 Oogie Boogie Land. So spark it up, Sparky, and take us to Oogie Boogie Land. Cause in Oogie Boogie Land, love is always there. Oogie Boogie Land, Oogie Boogie Land, Oogie Boogie Land, Oogie Boogie Land, Oogie Boogie Land. Boogie Boogie Land.
Hello, it's Nanny Lynn. I'm going to tell you the story of Princess Amaluma. She was a little girl who lived in a kingdom long ago and far away. Every day, she liked to walk out in the park near her castle and read her favorite book. It was a picture book with words about dinosaurs, full of all interesting facts. Dinosaurs who were big, dinosaurs who were little. Princess Amaluma very much wanted to go back in time and touch real dinosaurs. She walked back to the castle and decided she could ask her father for help. Her father was the king. He could do many things. She walked into the throne room and curtsied to her father and then politely asked him for help. I want to go back 60 million years, she said. Her father explained that this might be difficult, but he would ask his scientists to create a time bubble, a machine that could take her back 60 million years. All he had to do was raise his finger, and his scientists would do as he commanded. Princess Amaluma was very excited, and she went to her lovely bedroom to prepare for the trip. She found her traveling hat. It matched her dress. It had lovely ostrich feathers on it. She placed it on her head and then thought, I should take a present for the dinosaurs. She reached for a bag of extra feathers because she knew that modern dinosaurs were really birds, and maybe the old ones would like feathers too. She returned to the throne room, thanked her father for creating a time bubble, and prepared to climb in. Her dad said, be careful, dear. Don't get stuck 60 million years ago. Princess Amaluma climbed into the time bubble, and it began to roll across the throne room floor. First it rolled in one direction until it bumped the wall. Then it began to come back the other way and get smaller and smaller as it started to speed up. It went out around the world faster and faster until it was going the speed of light. It was going so fast that it was going backwards in time, 60 million years. What would she find at the other end but a vast plain with a volcano and troodons running across the plain? The troodons were being chased by a Tyrannosaurus Rex, and up in the air were pterodactyls flying across the sky. A Triceratops was walking across the plain in the other direction. He was very large and heavy. And right behind him was the Tyrannosaurus Rex again. He'd given up on the troodons, who were very fast, and decided to chase the Triceratops instead. But he was a little late. The Triceratops had already found a hiding place. Tyrannosaurus Rex would have to wait for his next meal. He looked around. He didn't see anything right at that moment. So he decided it's time to keep walking. Perhaps he'd find a meal later. Just at that time, Princess Amaluma's time bubble rolled down to the earth and stopped. She climbed out and looked around for dinosaurs. She beckoned to them. Come here, she said, I have presents for you. First came a Procompsognathus, a lovely blue creature. So Princess Emaluma gave him some of her blue feathers to match him. "Oh, he looks lovely," she said. Next came one of those baby troodons. She gave him lots of green feathers, 3 or 4. They matched him. And then came the mother troodon. She stopped and said, "Really, I want feathers too. You see, I want to be just like my son, my child." And she licked Princess Emaluma until Princess Emaluma gave her green feathers too. Then the Pachycephalosaurus wanted some. He was a very handsome creature, and he looked even more handsome, she thought, with feathers. The Minmi wanted feathers too. And finally, the Stegosaurus. Princess Emaluma had used up almost all her feathers. She only had a few yellow and orange ones left. "I hope there aren't too many more dinosaurs," she thought. But the Tyrannosaurus Rex wanted feathers too. He was very shy around Princess Emaluma, and he backed up. Princess Emaluma decided to follow the other dinosaurs, the ones she'd given feathers to. But she didn't need her feather bag anymore. There was only a couple feathers left, so she dropped it on the ground. And then she followed the other dinosaurs to a forest clearing where they all began to talk to her at once. They were thanking her for the feathers, but mostly they were talking about how beautiful each one was. Each thought he was the most beautiful. Even the Tyrannosaurus Rex had come to talk about how beautiful he was. They liked the feathers very much. Oh yes, Mrs. Troodon was especially happy. But even the Minmi thought he was very handsome with feathers. Princess Emaluma tried to explain that in the future they would evolve into birds, but the dinosaurs didn't understand, and the Tyrannosaurus Rex suddenly got hungry and frightened away the Procompsognathus, and then the baby Troodon and the mother Troodon, the Pachycephalosaurus, the Minmi, and the Stegosaurus. "They're all afraid of the Tyrannosaurus Rex," said Princess Emaluma. "I think he was just yawning. Let's go see what they do next." So she followed all the dinosaurs into a clearing where a Barosaurus was just walking by to munch on a cycad tree. The other dinosaurs that had feathers were walking along, one following the other, and Princess Emaluma thought, "They're like geese at home. They follow each other across the sky." But these dinosaurs like to play follow the leader too. She watched them go across the plain, and she felt sad that she didn't have any more feathers so that she could give some to the Barosaurus too. But the Barosaurus had a very small head, and he wasn't very interested in feathers anyway. He was only interested in eating the cycad leaves. Princess Emaluma thought, "I better follow them and see what they do next." She walked over to a lake where the Procompsognathus was so afraid of the Tyrannosaurus that he jumped into the lake to hide. The baby Troodon followed. "I better follow," he said, and he jumped into the lake too. Then the mother Troodon came along. "I have to do what they did," she said, and she jumped into the lake also. Princess Emaluma was worried that they might be drowning in the lake, so she ran out to the edge of the beach and stopped the other dinosaurs. "Don't drown," she said, and then a new dinosaur came up. "I'm a Corythosaurus," he said, "and I want feathers too." "I'm sorry," Princess Emaluma said, "I don't have any more. I'm so worried about those dinosaurs that jumped in the lake." "Don't worry," said the Minmi. "They can swim and they can hold their breath a long time. You just wait. They'll pop up." And they did. The mother Troodon reassured Princess Emaluma, "Yes, I can hold my breath a long time, but I think all our feathers have washed off." Princess Emaluma asked them to come out of the water and come up to the forest. She would tell them a story. The Pachycephalosaurus said, "That's a good idea. I love stories." Come out," said Princess Emaluma. "I want to talk to you." They all went into the forest, but instead of hearing Princess Emaluma, they all had to talk themselves. They thought it was very unfair that some of the feathers had washed off and some dinosaurs still had feathers. Oh, grumble, grumble, they went. Princess Emaluma said, "Please be quiet. I want to talk to you about this. You're all perfectly lovely, even without feathers." Maybe I would be too, she thought. And she decided to take off her beautiful feather hat and toss it into the forest to show them that feathers weren't necessary. Off it went, and all the dinosaurs were amazed that she had thrown away her own feathers. Even the Barosaurus licked her. What shall we do? Princess Emaluma suggested that dinosaurs that still had feathers jump in the lake also to wash them off. Then it would be fair. So they did. Finally, the Tyrannosaurus Rex even jumped in the water, making a very large splash. And when the Pachycephalosaurus came out, he was beautifully golden, and the Minmi had his shiny spikes visible again. And the Stegosaurus looked proud. And finally, the Tyrannosaurus Rex came out with his big splashes, himself again without feathers. Princess Emaluma reassured them that they all looked grand, even without feathers. And she prepared to go back to her own time and her own castle. The time bubble rolled up, she climbed in, and off she went through the sky as the dinosaurs watched. Back to the castle park. She rolled in slowly, 60 million years later, very glad to be home again, and she rushed to the castle to draw pictures of all the dinosaurs she'd seen before she forgot. And she put the pictures up on her mirrors in her room. Then she went to the throne room to thank her father for the wonderful adventure. "I'm glad you're back safely," he said. Princess Emaluma went back to her room to look at the pictures she had drawn. They looked beautiful even without feathers. I'm glad I had a chance to see them. She was a happy girl, and when she grew up, she became the queen and even decorated the throne room with more dinosaur pictures. Now it's time for the story of Srebrenica. Srebrenica was a little girl who was born in a country far away. Her mom and dad named her Srebrenica because they'd heard of such a land, a city named that it had a hard time, but then come back into a peaceful state. So they thought that would be a nice name for their new baby. They were happy with their new baby, and Papa had made a wonderful purple blanket to be her baby dress. He wrapped her up in it, and they were so happy with their brand new baby. But just as they were feeling particularly happy, they heard a storm coming up. So they ran outside to bring in the laundry and collect their other outdoor furniture to make it safe from the storm. Little Srebrenica was left on the floor to play. She looked out the window and saw the storm and wondered where her mommy and daddy had gone. "Ooh, that looks scary," she thought to herself. She saw the storm roaring and roaring outside, making a huge noise with its blowing winds. "What's going to happen?" she thought. "Will the storm come in the window?" She was just a little girl. And she began to cower down, and the storm did break in the window, and the wind blew and blew and raised the curtains and blew parts of the house away, until finally everything in the house blew away, and little Srebrenica was left all alone. She couldn't find her mommy and daddy, and they couldn't find her. They'd been blown far away too. But then a wolf mother came along, and when the wolf mother saw little Srebrenica, she thought it was one of her pups. So she picked up Srebrenica by the beautiful purple blanket her papa had made her, and she carried Srebrenica far away in the land where there were mountains and fields. Mother Wolf thought she'd better take this new pup back to where other pups were. So she carefully carried Srebrenica along until she was all the way back to her forest home, which was a cave under a log. The wolf mother carefully carried Srebrenica inside the cave. She was going to introduce her to the other pups. "Here's your new sister," she told the other pups. And little Srebrenica looked around, and she saw all her new brothers and sisters. They felt very happy together, and so they fell asleep, while the wolf mother was out looking for prey. They all would need to eat soon. Srebrenica and her new brothers and sisters slept away, and then Mother Wolf brought back a rat she had caught and killed. She left the rat on the floor of the cave and went back out to look for other prey. Srebrenica and her new puppy brothers and sisters slept and slept until Srebrenica began to feel hungry, and they all opened their eyes, and Srebrenica looked around and she saw the dead rat that the mother wolf had left. She sat up and reached for it, took a little bite. This isn't bad. She tasted it, and then she shared it with all her brothers and sisters, and they all enjoyed a good meal. They were happy together in the wolf cave under the log. Months and years went by, and the little pup wolves grew up to be full-sized wolves. And they met Paddy Possum, who was another wild creature of the forest, and Charlie Crow, who liked to tell them everything he knew all day long. The wolf pups enjoyed their friends. Charlie Crow went out to hunt for a worm. And when he found one, he shared it with his friend Srebrenica. She was so wild, she ate worms and spiders that she found in the forest. She was a very wild child, and she was stretching her dad's purple blanket to be a bigger and bigger dress as each year went by and she grew larger. The pups became proper wolves and went out hunting. But Srebrenica never learned how to be a proper wolf. She just grabbed spiders from the trees, and she grabbed worms from Charlie Crow, who always liked to dig them up for her. She became almost a teenager, still eating spiders. But such strange wild food always gave her a bad hair day, and her hair turned many different colors, and she was embarrassed. "Oh, what am I to do?" she thought. "I'm just not normal at all. This isn't the way hair is supposed to be." She dreamed of becoming a person again, like her mother and father. She had only the strangest rememberings of them. At night she would dream about her real mother and father. But her wolf mother was very concerned because Srebrenica wasn't acting like the other wolf pups. "Oh, what am I going to do? What am I going to do with this child?" she thought. "How will I ever teach her? She just won't follow me and do what I do." The wolf mother went and talked to Srebrenica again, but Srebrenica was asleep and dreaming of a great dinosaur coming and teaching her how to be a human being. That was a strange dream. "Who are you?" asked Srebrenica, and the dinosaur said, "I am your teacher. You do want to be a human again, don't you? Well, let me tell you how. You have to follow the paths in the forest out to where the houses of humans are. You must follow the path until you find a house, and then you must look inside and imitate the people inside, because really you are one of them. You're not a wolf, and I know you're not a dinosaur. We're all extinct. I'm just a dream dinosaur." And Srebrenica thought about it for a long time and said, "Well, how do I find a path?" And the dream dinosaur said, "Well, you have to look on the ground and follow the cleanest part, and it will show you the way out of the forest." So Srebrenica did. She followed her way out of the forest into the land of human houses. where she sat and had another dream, and this time it was a purple dinosaur who told her, "Now there's the house, but you're going to have to go inside. Perhaps you can get in through the chimney, and that's where you have to imitate the people inside if you want to become a person like them." "Okay," said Srebrenica, and she got ready to climb inside the house as the big purple dinosaur drifted off, and Srebrenica woke up to follow her dream. She came inside the chimney of the house, and she saw two children sleeping. "Wake up, I'm stuck," she said. "Pull me out." And the children, who were named Hansel and Gretel, pulled on her. "We can't get you, you're stuck." "What? Well, try again," said Srebrenica. And they pulled and pulled until suddenly all her hair fell off into their hands. Srebrenica was very upset, but she squeezed out of the fireplace herself and turned around and said, "I'm going to imitate you and be like you." And Hansel and Gretel said, "Mom, Dad, look at this strange person who came down the fireplace. Come and see, come and see." Srebrenica was worried. But then when she saw the mom and dad, they were also surprised because it was her own mom and dad. Dad saw the blanket dress, and the mom said, "Hey, put on regular clothes." And she gave Srebrenica a wig and a new dress and brought her out some shoes. "We're glad to have you back," she said. And they all were sent off to school the next day. 2 sisters and 1 brother. Srebrenica was the oldest, because Hansel and Gretel had been born much later. At school, Srebrenica saw a video about Princess Amaluma and the dinosaurs. And she was very interested because she'd seen dinosaurs in her dreams, too. So instead of going to school the next day, she called for her friend Patty Possum and said, "What do you think? You think I can learn to fly like Princess Amaluma did and go into the land of the dinosaurs if I fly very fast?" Patty Possum thought that was a ridiculous idea. But Srebrenica never gave up. Remember, she was a wild child. And she flapped her purple skirt up and down faster and faster and said, "I can fly. See, if I just practice, I'll learn to go faster and faster." She was late for school that day. In fact, she didn't go at all. Charlie Crow and Patty Possum thought this was a very bad idea. "Oh, she's going to get in trouble," said Charlie Crow. "She better go to school." Patty Possum said, "I think she's too wild for that." And Srebrenica had been practicing and practicing her flying until now she was able to go high in the sky. "Bye-bye," she said. "I'm going back 65 million years, and I'm going to look for the dinosaurs just like Princess Amaluma did." She flew around the earth backwards, faster and faster and faster, faster than the speed of light, until she had gone back 65 million years. She came down to Earth in a vast desert. It was Australia. In the middle of Australia, it was all desert. She stopped flying and called for dinosaurs. "Dinosaurs, dinosaurs, where are you? Where are you? Come here, come here." She didn't see any of them. "Oh dear, I must have landed in a wrong place," she thought. "I'll walk over the next hill and see if I can find some dinosaurs." But as she walked along, a huge Deinonychus saw her and followed her. "That looks like something to eat," it thought. Srebrenica didn't see the Deinonychus following her. She'd gone over the next hill, and she'd seen a family of Minmies walking along the Australian plain. "Oh, now they look like dinosaurs." She thought she would follow them, so she flew up to follow them along, just in time before the Deinonychus found her. She flew and flew until she saw a place that looked just like where Princess Amaluma had visited. There was a Euplocephalus just going over the hill, and the Minmi family was walking across the scene when Srebrenica landed. "Now I'm sure I'm going to see more dinosaurs. And I want to warn them about the asteroid that's going to come and destroy their world. Maybe if I tell them to store up food, they'll be able to survive. Oh, I hope they'll listen to me. And she called for them. Dinosaurs, dinosaurs, come. I must tell you something important. So all the dinosaurs came up to listen to her. The Deinonychus said, well, I want to eat you. But Srebrenica said, no, 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 I'm not your proper prey. It's time for you to all save your proper food so that when the asteroid comes from the sky, you'll be safe while the sky is full of clouds and kills all the plants and your normal food. But they didn't quite understand. I'm going to look after them, promised Srebrenica, and she followed them off into the field. But the Deinonychus misunderstood her and just killed the first Euplocephalus he found and didn't store it away, just left it there on the ground. And then the T-Rex captured a Pachycephalosaurus and threw it to the ground. That was a strange way to store food, but it was the only way the dinosaurs understood. The meat-eaters just killed off all the plant-eaters they could find. They licked their chops and thought they could come back later to find the prey they'd killed. They went off to find more. Srebrenica saw all the dead plant-eating dinosaurs and was concerned. Oh dear, I think I've told them the wrong thing. This isn't working out the way I wanted it to at all, she thought. Isn't there any way I can save any dinosaurs so they won't become extinct? What can I do, she thought. She looked over the lake and she saw that the T-Rex was even capturing the minmies and throwing them into the water. That's not how to store food, she thought. I guess his brain is just too little to understand what I was talking about. Oh, I wish there was some way I could save a dinosaur. She looked down near the dead Pachycephalosaurus, and then she saw that there was a pile of eggs nearby. So she picked one up and saved it in her pocket to take back to the 20th century. She flew off to see if she could find more dinosaurs to warn. She flew to a field where myosauruses were gently eating flowers. They were just moving along in their normal way when Srebrenica came and landed in their field. She wanted to warn them. She tried to explain how they should try to save the flowers, put them in a big pile, but the Myosaurus didn't understand and thought Srebrenica was something to eat and licked off all her hair as if it were a flower. Ha 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 ha! This is a yummy flower, thought the Myosaurus. Srebrenica was disgusted. She was always losing her hair. She went off to rest before her long flight back to the 20th century. I'd better take a nap first before I go, she thought, and she lay down in the field of flowers. The Myosaurus came and licked her and thought, this looks like an egg. I better sit on it to hatch it. And the Myosaurus sat. Oh, I'm ready for a new baby Myosaurus, and she licked the egg, what she thought was an egg, waited for it to hatch. Pretty soon, pretty soon, pretty soon, she thought. I like being a mom. But then the egg woke up and it was Srebrenica. How dare you sit on me? I'm not an egg, said Srebrenica. I'm a person. You shouldn't sit on people. But the Myosaurus didn't understand. She had a very small brain, too. Srebrenica tried to explain to them about the asteroid that was going to come and destroy their world, but they just couldn't figure out what she was talking about. And then it happened. They saw an explosion far off on the horizon, and clouds of colored smoke came up into the sky. Srebrenica told them, "You're almost too late. Please gather your flowers while you can and save them." But the Myosaurus didn't understand. Srebrenica said, "It's going to get dark, and all your flowers will die." And it did become dark. And Srebrenica decided, I guess this is time for me to go back to the 20th century. So she picked up her skirts and flew away. It did become darker and darker, and all the flowers died. And it was so dark that the T-Rex couldn't even find any more plant eaters to kill for prey. And they all began to cry. They could see their end was near. They cried and cried in the dark, under the dark sky. Meanwhile, back in the 20th century, Charlie Crow and Patty Possum wondered where Srebrenica had gone. Will she ever come back, they thought? I don't know, said Charlie Crow. She's been gone a long time. Srebrenica came flying back and said, "Look, here I am. I'm back." But she was very tired, so she took a little nap, and Charlie Crow and Patty Possum fell asleep too. Then, when Srebrenica woke up, she remembered that she'd brought back the egg. So she brought it out of her pocket and gave it to Patty Possum to put in her pouch. "Maybe it will hatch," said Charlie Crow. And they all went to sleep again to finish their nap. It became dark, and in the middle of the night, the egg did hatch, and out came a baby Pachycephalosaurus. "Wake up, wake up, wake up," it said. "Look, I'm here, I'm here." They all woke up to greet the baby Pachycephalosaurus, but it was still nighttime, so they all felt sleepy again. The Pachycephalosaurus went back into Patty Possum's pouch till the morning. Then it hopped out and said, wake up, I want to start being in your century. I'm the only dinosaur you have." And Srebrenica said, "You're right, and look, my hair is starting to grow back. Oh, I'm so happy. This is going to be a good day." Patty Possum said, "Well, do you want your brother and sister to see this dinosaur?" "Oh, I don't know," said Srebrenica. "You better hide, Pachycephalosaurus, before they see you." So Charlie Crow stepped in front of the Pachycephalosaurus, and the Pachycephalosaurus jumped back into Patty Possum's pouch just in time before Hansel and Gretel saw it. Patty Possum decided to walk off and take care of her new baby Pachycephalosaurus secretly in the forest. Srebrenica went to school with her brother and sister that day, while Patty Possum took Pachycephalosaurus to a field in the middle of the forest and told it to eat all the plants there so it would grow up and be strong. The baby Pachycephalosaurus listened carefully and began to eat. She ate and ate and ate, and as the weeks and months went by, she grew bigger and bigger until she was as big as a tree, even taller than some of the trees. She went back to the house where Srebrenica lived and looked for Srebrenica, but Srebrenica was away at school with her brother and sister. "Oh, I'm so lonely," thought Pachycephalosaurus. "I wish I could find that girl again. And where's Patty Possum and Charlie Crow?" Srebrenica was just coming home from school, and she greeted her friends, and when she saw the Pachycephalosaurus, she said, "Oh my goodness, you've grown so huge. What are we going to do with you?" Charlie Crow said, "Well, she's too big to fit in your house. She'll just have to wander around in the forest where there are plenty of plants to eat." Just then Hansel and Gretel came along. The others had run back into the forest, but Hansel and Gretel called for Srebrenica, said, "Come on home. Mom doesn't like you to run away." So she did. She was becoming a normal person. But when the Pachycephalosaurus asked to come in, Srebrenica said, "Shh, go away. You're too wild now. You have to live by yourself in the forest." The poor Pachycephalosaurus wandered through the woods and the fields looking for another Pachycephalosaurus. But she was the only one in the world. She had to live a very lonely life. Her only friends were Charlie Crow and Patty Possum. But they were so little compared to her. It was hard to even bend her head down to talk to them. She did have a lonely life. One more time she came back to Srebrenica's house and called for her. Come out and play and be my friend." But Srebrenica had become a normal person then, and the poor, sad Pachycephalosaurus had to live the rest of her life all alone. That's the end of the Srebrenica story. But there's another story coming. going to be called The Story of Bob the Blob. Once upon a time, in a medical laboratory, there was a man named Dr. Sinti. Dr. Sinti was experimenting with antibiotics. At the end of a long work day, he turned off the light and left his lab, and his dish of antibiotic became a kind of a blob that started growing out of it. At first it looked like a worm. Then it changed its shape again, and it began to form legs, and then it turned back into something like a fish. It swam around a little bit, and then it grew arms and a head, and it grew taller. It scratched its head, and eyes and a mouth and hair appeared. It had little blue boots on, and when it saw it was in a dish, it climbed out and suddenly announced, "I'm Bob the Blob. I'm a new little boy. I'm going to look over here. No, I better not fall off this table. I'm going to go the other side." But he didn't see the edge, and he did fall off onto the floor. But he was a strong little fellow, and he jumped up just in time to explore the electrical outlet he could reach. "Ooh, this is exciting, but I don't think it's a good idea." Then he walked over to a cage, and he met a laboratory rat. He was very interested in her. He wanted to go in the cage and become friends. So he took a running start, but crashed into the cage instead of getting in. "I'm going to have to try something different," thought Bob the Blob. "Maybe if I pull on these bars, I can get it. Oh, yeah, that works. I'm going to go in and play with her." He saw the lady white rat was sucking some water out of her water dispenser. And then she said, "Look, I'm going to show off. I can walk around and jump around in my exercise carousel, and I stay in very good shape by doing that. Aren't I wonderful?" She jumped out, and Bob the Blob said, "Hey, I want to try that. That looks like a lot of fun. Can I do it?" "Okay," said the lady white rat. "I'll watch you. It's your turn." So Bob the Blob squeezed into the cage and jumped into the exercise carousel. "You watch. I'll bet I can do it even better than you," he said. And he carefully started walking around the cage to make it go around. "See? I can do it just fine. I'll bet I can do it even faster than you." And he tried to go faster and faster and faster as his legs went so fast they began to dissolve, and soon poor Bob the Blob was just a pile of powder. The lady white rat decided to take a little taste. This tastes pretty good," she thought, and she licked it until it was almost all gone. Then she suddenly started to feel a little strange, and she began to turn the colors that Bob the Blob was. Oh, I think I have a headache," she thought. She twisted her head back and forth and felt herself changing, and she did. She changed into something that looked more like a frog than a mouse. But it was a hungry frog, and it leapt over to get every last speck of the Bob the Blob powder. After the last little speck was eaten, it got sleepy, and the frog snored and rested until suddenly it changed again and became something like a lizard or an iguana. The next morning when Dr. Sinti came back, he said, "Oh my goodness, what happened to you?" The lizard tried to explain to Dr. Sinti about having been a white rat but eaten Bob the Blob. Dr. Sinti didn't understand. So the lizard decided to show Dr. Sinti that she was still the white rat, and she went back into her exercise carousel to show that she was the same animal that used to climb around in it. Dr. Sinti thought, maybe I can do a new experiment with this creature. At least try to change it back into a lady white rat again. So he took the lizard and took it back to his laboratory table. He put her down and decided maybe if he injected a little more of his antibiotic in the lizard, it would turn back into a white rat. But instead, the lizard fell to the ground and began to become even bigger than it had been before. With all that new antibiotic in it, it was getting huger and huger. In fact, so large that it suddenly realized it better jump out the window before it became bigger than the whole building. Out of the window into the countryside it went, still growing, and then changing again. It turned into a giant pussycat. It landed on a house and crushed it. It didn't know what it was doing. It was just becoming bigger and bigger. It jumped around, playing by itself just the way a cat will do. But it was much bigger than any ordinary cat. It went walking along, making huge pounding sounds on the floor of the forest. Soon it was so big that it was as big as a mountain. And when it meowed, it roared so loud it sounded like thunder. It grew so huge that it was prancing around the northern hemisphere of the world and causing all kinds of terrible weather phenomena. Dr. Sinti back in the laboratory decided he had to do something to stop this huge cat from ruining the world. He put some antibiotic in a needle and put it into a little rocket to send up to try to catch the giant cat and change it back to a normal-sized animal. Off the rocket went up into the top of the world. He had aimed it carefully enough so that it went right smack into the cat's bum, and the cat began to shrink again. It was still shrinking down. Dr. Sinti saw the cat, now back to a normal size, and said, "Come and sit on my lap while I think about how to bring you back to being a lady white rat. Maybe if we go back to the laboratory, I can inject you with something that will help. Or maybe you just have to wait, and then you'll become back to your normal self." While the cat was walking along, it changed again and became a little raccoon. When they went back to the lab, the little raccoon carefully walked over to it, what used to be its cage, and waited to turn back to a lady white rat. Dr. Sinti thought, "I wonder how this all happened." So he stirred his antibiotic one more time and decided to wait and watch. Oh, then it began that odd process of turning into many different things. Dr. Sinti called up his wife, Billy, and told her what was happening. "I created a blob, and it's turning into something strange. It looks like a fish or a worm or a blob, and it keeps changing. And now it's becoming something that's looking like a human being, a very tiny human being." Billy was excited to hear this, and Dr. Sinti said, "I think it's becoming a little boy, a very small boy." And it stepped out of the dish and kicked it away and introduced itself. "I'm Bob the Blob," it said. Dr. Sinti said, "Hello, you are something amazing. I'm going to take you home to my boys. They're named Dylan and Jake. Will you come home with me and be their pet?" And Bob the Blob thought, "That sounds like a good idea. They might be more fun than the lady white rat." Dr. Sinti brought Bob the Blob home to his boys, who were waiting on the couch for their dad. "See what I brought you," he said. "His name's Bob the Blob. He can be your little friend." The boys were excited to have a new friend. "Oh, you're so cute. Will you come and have a bath with us? Mom's going to tell us to bathe any minute." Mama Billy did come in and said, "Time for your bath, boys. Go upstairs. I'll pour the water." So the boys took Bob the Blob upstairs to take a bath. "Jump in," they said, and he did. But he began to dissolve, and the boys just in time reached for parts of him, and all they could save were his little blue boots. Oh, they were not happy. "Dad, look what happened to the blob, the blob. The blob dissolved." And Dad said, "Oh, don't worry, boys. Maybe tomorrow I can mix up a new Bob for you. I guess he wasn't waterproof, was he?" Meanwhile, back in the laboratory, the little raccoon was waiting to turn back into the lady white rat. It was very impatient. It paced back and forth in the floor of the cage. It was too little to ride the exercise carousel. But finally it did turn back into the Lady White Rat, and she was finally happy again. When morning came, Dr. Cinti thought, now I'm going to mix a new Bob the Blob. I wonder how long it'll take to pop out this time. But it was an instant pop. Bob said, see, I'm really getting good and practiced. I can come out instantly now. Dr. Cinti said, this time when I take you home, you have to be careful not to get in any water because it made you dissolve, and that made my boys disappointed. Okay, said Bob the Blob, I'll try to remember. So Dr. Cinti took Bob home to give him to his boys to play with. The boys had built a Lego house to keep Bob safe in, away from the bathtub. Here he is, said Dr. Cinti. And the boys were so happy to have their little friend back again. Now you stay away from the bathtub, they said, and don't get in any other water. Just keep yourself safe in the plastic house, please. So Bob jumped off their laps and went to explore his new house. The boys were happy that he went there, so they could go off to bed. When Bob the Blob came into his plastic house, he suddenly realized there was nothing inside. Well, what am I supposed to do in here, he thought. But the boys were asleep and they didn't tell him anything. So Bob the Blob began to explore. He bounced off the walls. And then he realized his little blue boots were kind of sticky. So he thought he'd try to do some kind of exercise with them and climb up the walls with his sticky boots. This might be like riding an exercise carousel, he thought. So he climbed up one wall and across the ceiling and down the other wall. But that really wasn't very exciting, and he wondered, what can I do next? I'm getting bored in here. So he decided to go on an exploration, a walk about the house, and he crept into the kitchen. Oh, this is an interesting place, he thought. I wonder what I can explore in here. Those drain holes look interesting. But before he tried looking down the drains, he saw something over on the side of the sink. Wonder what that thing is, he thought. So he went over to explore. It was Dylan's Indiglo watch. Bob put it on and lit it up and thought, oh, that'll be a good help when I go down this drain to explore. So he went down the drain. Bye-bye, he said to no one in particular. I'm going to see what I can find down here. So down into the pipes under the sink he went. And he explored further and deeper under the ground until he saw a strange creature following him. And he ran as fast as he could to get away from the big, strange creature. What was that thing, he thought? I better go faster and faster to get away from it. It looked like it might be dangerous. And he kept his Indiglo watch lit up to find his way down a long pipe. And he stopped to look, but there was the creature following him. Bob was frozen in fright. But then the creature turned around and said, Hi, I'm Racha la Cucaracha. I'm not going to hurt you, am I? Are you food? Bob explained, No, I'm not food. And Racha said, Well, I'm only interested in food, so I won't bother you. What are you doing down here? This is my place. And little Bob said, Well, I'm just exploring. See, I'm bored in the little plastic house. And Racha la Cucaracha said, Well, do you know where any food is? And Bob said, Maybe up in the kitchen where I came from. Oh, you want to follow me? Said Bob. Oh, yes, said Racha la Cucaracha. So Bob held onto her antennae and pulled her toward the sink where he had come from. He thought maybe they could find some food up there for Racha la Cucaracha. Bob came out first and climbed out of the sink. And then he turned around to call for his new friend. Come up, just climb up the pipes, he said. Just come up. Hurry up. I think people are waking up. We'll have to find the food before they catch us, and then we can hide. So Racha came up, She wanted to look for food. And Dylan said, "Uh-oh, I hear somebody coming. Quick, we've got to hide." But before they could hide, someone came in the kitchen. It was Mother Billy. And when she saw the huge cockroach, she was frightened and disgusted. "Bob, why did you bring this dirty creature into my clean kitchen? This isn't what I want at all. Go away," she said to the cockroach. But Bob and the cockroach decided to run away and hide. "I hope they went back down the drain," said Billy. But as you know, they didn't. They had run farther and farther away from the sink, as far away as they could go. In fact, Bob had taken Racha to hide in his little plastic house. He thought he'd stay there until the boys woke up. "You can stay here with me," he told Racha. And Racha said, "Okay, but I want some food. Where's some food?" When the boys woke up, they saw what was in the little plastic house, and Dylan said, "Hey, Bob, you're wearing my Indiglo watch. That's mine." And Bob said, "Well, I'm finished with it now. You can have it back." So Dylan took it. "We want some food." And then Jake said, "Well, I'll give you some food if you climb into my little insect keeper." He put in a plastic box for Racha to climb into. "Okay, now you promised some food. I want some too," said Dylan. Little Bob. And Dylan told him, "Okay, come on out and I'll see if I can find some food for you and for Racha." So Dylan reached his arm into the plastic house, and Bob stood on his hand while Dylan carefully took him out of the house. It was time for Dylan and Jake to get ready for school. But before Dylan left Bob to get into more trouble, he had an idea. "I think I can keep you safe in here," he thought, "if I keep you in this big container." He brought out a plastic container that his mother used for salad, and he put a blue plastic cup in the middle. Then he went to fetch a pitcher of lemonade and poured it in the plastic container. "Now, Bob, I want you to stay safe in this cup. Don't try to reach out or you'll dissolve. I have to go to school now." "But I thought I was going to get some food," said Bob. "I don't like being in here all alone. Where's Racha?" Well, Racha was still in the plastic insect container that Jake thought, "Where can I hide this?" And he decided to put it under the couch cushion while he was at school. Maybe it would be safe there, but alas, Mama Billy came in to take a rest from housework, and she sat right on Racha's container. Then she went off to finish her work, and Racha was crushed. Meanwhile, little Bob was getting bored in his blue container. He tried to get out. First he stuck one foot into the lemonade, and it dissolved, of course. Oh dear. So he tried the other one, but it dissolved also. Little Bob was shorter than ever before, and he sank down into his little cup. Sank down into the bottom of it. When Dylan came back from school, he said, "Bob, where are you?" And when he brought him out, poor Bob, he had no more feet, just little stumps of his boots. When Jake came home, he found Racha had been crushed, and he was sad too. Oh dear. Poor little Bob could barely walk. And Dylan said, "You better stay in the plastic house and stay safe." And Jake threw in the crushed Racha too to hide it from his mother. And his mother came and sat down and said, boys, come in here. I want to talk to you. You both have something important to learn about pets. Now, your dad was very nice to bring you Bob the Blob home, but to take care of him, you have to keep him away from water, and I don't want you ever to bring a cockroach around again. Bob did it, said the boys. Well, you have to tell Bob to keep away cockroaches. They're very dirty creatures, and we can't have them in our clean house. They carry diseases. The boys weren't happy to hear that, but they promised not to play with cockroaches anymore. And Mama was satisfied. Off they went. But little Bob was just pacing around in his plastic house, being bored again. What am I supposed to do now, he thought. I don't even have Racha to play with. Jake had thrown in the crushed Racha, who was dead, and Bob thought, they never even gave me anything to eat. So he tried tasting a little bit of Racha. And he ate her almost all up. But then he realized he'd been eating his friend, and he began to cry. He was a sad little Bob the Blob. He cried himself to sleep. But then while he was sleeping, something amazing happened. Racha la Cucaracha's wings began to grow out of Bob the Blob. He was such an unstable little creature. And when Bob woke up, he realized he had something new flapping on his back. It was Racha's wings. Oh, this isn't too bad, he thought, and he sat up and started practicing flying. This is kind of fun, he thought. Now I'm just like a butterfly. And he flew out of the plastic house just as Mama Billy was bringing in a beautiful vase of flowers to decorate her living room. She didn't see Bob flying around as she went to do more housework. Bob said, "Oh, this is fun. Look at those beautiful flowers. I'm going to go up and sniff them. They look so pretty. I wonder where they come from." So he looked into the vase, but accidentally dipped his head in the water. Uh-oh, I think I'm losing my head, he thought. And he had. The whole top half of his head had been dissolved. Oh, I'm not staying here very well, he thought. When Dylan came home from school that day, he said, "Come on outside and play, Bob. I see you've grown wings. How wonderful." Dylan took Bob out to the park, where Srebrenica was sitting and knitting. Little Bob said, "Oh, who are you? Can I play with you?" And he stopped, and accidentally he got poked with one of Srebrenica's knitting needles, and he began dripping antibiotic until he fell into a pond. "Oh dear, he's dissolved again," thought Dylan. "Oh no," thought Jake. "This is terrible. We've got to tell Dad to do something about this." So later at the dinner table, Dylan suggested to his father, and Jake agreed, "Dad, you've got to try to put something in the Bob the Blob mixture so that he's waterproof." Dad thought about it and thought about it, and he decided maybe he could put some reptile DNA into the mixture, and maybe then the next Bob the Blob would be waterproof. "That sounds like a good idea," said Jake. "Will you try it tomorrow?" asked Dylan. "Okay," Billy said. "I hope it works." "Yeah, 'cause we like playing with Bob the Blob, but he dissolves so easily." So the next day when Dr. Cinti went to his laboratory, he mixed some DNA from lizards into the antibiotic mixture. "I hope this works," he said. And he waited for Bob to pop out, and this time Bob popped out with a lizard tail. "Is this going to make me waterproof?" "I hope so," said Dr. Cinti. "I'm going to take you home and we'll try a test to see if you've become waterproof." "Oh, I hope it's a good test," said Bob the Blob. "I don't want to dissolve again." Dr. Cinti said, "Well, I'll just create you over and over until I get it right." And so he took the new lizard-tailed Bob the Blob home to the boys. When he came in, he said, "Look what I've got for you now. Bob the Blob has a tail." "Oh, that's interesting," said Jake. And the boys looked at their new pet, and Bob the Blob tried to stay right between them and stay safe. Jake said, "Well, we have to try the test right away." And Dylan said, Mom, please fill the sink with water, and we're going to test the new Bob the Blob and see if he's waterproof." "I think he looks cute with a tail, don't you?" And Jake said, "Oh, yeah." Mama Billy went into the kitchen and began to fill the sink with water. This was going to be an experiment, just like some of the ones Dr. Cinti did in his laboratory. "Okay, boys, the sink's full. You can bring in the lizard Bob now." So the boys came in to watch Bob in his test. "I don't know that I want to try this," said little Bob the Blob. "Oh, you're a scaredy cat," said Dylan. "I guess you're going to have to push him in," said Jake. "You think you can do that?" "Oh, don't, I'm scared," said Bob. But Dylan said, "We got to try it." And he pushed little Bob into the water. "Oh, no," said Jake. "Look, he's dissolved again. What are we going to do? Poor Dad, he can't seem to make it right." But then Lizard Bob popped out and said, "See, it worked." But because the boys had called him a fraidy cat, he turned into a cat. He said, "Look, now I'm Bob Cat, and I still feel scared. I don't want to go near that water." So he trotted off the sink and scrambled to the living room through the dining room. The boys said, "Well, we like you as a cat." The Bob Cat stood up and tried to tell the boys, "Never put me near water again. I really didn't like it." And the boys said, "Oh, you don't have to be afraid. We like you as a cat. We always wanted a pet. You can come out and play with us." So the new Bobcat came out to play, but even outside he felt scared. He thought he heard a mouse, or maybe it was a bird squeaking. And he said, "Oh dear, I'm scared." And he jumped up into the tree. And the boy said, "You don't have to be scared, Bob. We're going to take good care of you. Come on back to the house and be our pet. Mom and Dad will feed you cat food, and you'll be happy. And you can even sleep with us maybe," said Dylan. So the scared Bobcat jumped down onto Dylan's shoulders as they went back inside. At dinner that evening, Dylan asked, "Please, can we keep Bob Cat now that he's not a blob anymore?" "Yeah, we want him to be our regular pet and live with us forever," said Jake. Mama said, "That sounds like a good idea if we can just keep him being a cat." Dylan said, "I want to sleep with him tonight in my bed. Will you let me?" And Mom and Dad said, "Okay, as long as you let Jake do it the next night." "Yeah, I want to turn the next night," said Jake. And Dylan said, "Thank you for letting us have a pet. We really like Bob the Blob as a Bobcat. He's so cute and fuzzy." So that night, Dylan slept with the new pet, Bobcat, and had a nice, soft evening of rest. And the next night, it was Jake's turn. Jake really loved having Bobcat sleep with him, too. And he dreamed of Bobcat and Bob the Blob. And as he dreamed, the pussycat turned back into Bob the Blob a little bit because he was still very unstable. But finally he decided to stay a cat. And that was the end, because they stayed that way forever after. The boys really loved their pet Bob. I hope you like these stories from Nanny Lynn Videos. Bye-bye.
Jim Baker Show, coming to you from Morningside, USA, snuggled in the beautiful Ozark Mountains. Today, our special guests are managing editor and writer-researcher of Defender Publishing, Donna Howell, and chief researcher, writer, and private investigator, Allie Henson. Our co-hosts today are Maricela Woodall, Mondo de la Vega, and I'm Tammy Sue Baker. And now, direct from Gray Street at Morningside, USA, here's your hosts, Pastor Jim and Lori Baker.
Thank you, Tammy Sue Baker, and welcome to Main Street, Gray Street here.
Yes, here we are.
And we're happy to have everyone here today, and happy to see Pastor David here with me.
And Pastor David.
My dear, dear friend, and I love him so much, and he just blesses my heart. And the people at Morningside love him.
Yeah.
They love him. Because he is... He's an associate pastor of the church, but he just ministers to all the people that live here.
Yeah,
you know,
so full of wisdom.
So this is our home street home.
Yes, welcome. We love having you with us.
Well, we have some very, very special guests with us today. Donna Howell is the managing editor and writer-researcher for Defender Publishing. She's also the best-selling author of Handmaidens, Conspiracy, Radicals, and Final Fire. So Allie Henderson oversees the research arm of Skywatch TV and Defender Publishing. That is, Tom Horn is the head of all of that.
Yeah.
And she is a credentialed private investigator.
I love
What
that
is
kind of
that?
It's a lot of research, honestly. People often mix that up with the idea of being a detective. They're different things, honestly.
Okay.
But so you're sort of a detective for Jesus, right? Sort of.
I would wear that label.
That's good.
Allie is also a contributing editor, writer to the bestseller Time Bomb and Unscrambling the Millennial Paradox. Their new book, this is the book. It's going to shake the world. It's called Dark Covenant. How the masses are being groomed to embrace the unthinkable while the leaders of organized religion make a deal with the devil.
Wow.
This is the book you must read now.
Yes.
You girls have written a shocking book.
Truly.
I'm almost shaking from the book. No, it is shocking. You have guts.
Thank you.
Strength.
Yes, they do.
Power. Anointing.
Yes. Amen.
So welcome to our program again, Donna Howell and Allie Anderson, two of the beautiful daughters of Tom Horn. I guess we should mention your mother too, right?
Nita.
Yeah.
Love Nita.
Nita had something to do with this.
Well,
birth.
yeah. A little bit. Oh, my goodness. But I will say one time we were having lunch here at Morningside. The girls, we were all together, and Nita said, and I said, you know, the girls are amazing, Nita. I'm talking straight to her across the table, and she said they have their father's brain. She said they got it from their father.
I would take that compliment.
And I was like, wow. Because I'm like, they kind of blow my mind. I mean, I'm old enough to be their mom. And I mean,
What's it
if
like
I had these two daughters, I'd be so wow.
Let's ask them, what is it like being Tom Horn's daughter? Tell me that.
Oh.
You know, there are some people that assume that our childhood was like a Bible study all day.
Yeah.
Every day. True. Yeah. And actually, that doesn't describe our childhood at all. We had so much love and so much words of affirmation and balance. And we were raised in such a way that Dad led by example and not by the finger wag. So it was very cool when we decided that we were going to start studying and researching the Bible and society and everything else on our own. It was because that was something that had been set as an example, but had never been expected from us. I mean, he flat out told us our entire upbringing, do whatever you want. I'll support whatever career you want, anything. And then I just couldn't stop nerding out, and so here we are. That's the short version.
We are thankful that you said yes to God, because ultimately God put a call on your life, obviously.
This is, I think the word dynasty is wrong, but you're in a Tom Horn dynasty, and your great network you've built, and the great new studios you're building, and all that you're doing, and we're so proud to have your programs on some of our networks, and we're hoping to add more of your programs on our networks, because I'd like to carry all your programs on our network, because we love them so much. And we love you. We do love you.
Well, that is mutual.
When did you girls first wake up to know that your dad was a genius?
You know, okay, so
this is good. Allie's the firstborn. Let's just
I'm just going to say we're off my notes, but no,
that's good.
I'll go out on a limb here and be transparent.
Yeah.
When I was 22, okay, so raised in church, Dad was a pastor. Every day wasn't necessarily a big disciplinary Bible study, but we were always raised with Scripture and taught God's way and why it was the way it was. And in my early 20s, I just had a really rebellious phase. And I think when I hit the end of my own rope, which doesn't every good testimony start there,
that's right.
that was when I started realizing Mom and Dad, they were right about everything they said. 20-something years of teaching came back, and all of a sudden, I rededicated my life to God, and then I never looked back.
Oh.
But I had to hit the end of all of my own resources, all of my own rebellion, all of my own everything, and then all of a sudden, I think that might have been the moment I went, hey, Dad was onto something, Mom was onto something, so that would be my answer to that question.
It was more of a social thing for me. I remember being in school, and I remember, the teen years in the 90s, and how every single one had to be this, broken family testimony where they hated their mom or dad or, whatever. And I just remember being at home and thinking about my dad on the radio the last night that he didn't know I was tuning into and listening to. And the entire time thinking to myself, I could never feel that way about these people, ever. My mom was the greatest mentor. And Lori, if she sat down and said they have their daddy's brain, we have our mother's brain, too. My mom was a genius. And nobody you're not allowed to sell Nita short.
No.
She's ridiculously intelligent.
Wow. Tom Horn is truly one of the great leaders of our day.
Yeah. Truly.
And he's brilliant. And he's built a brilliant publishing company, and we use a lot of his books on our shows and all. And we just love your family. We love what you're doing.
Your whole family.
The great farm for children, the horses. What do you call that?
Whispering Ponies Ranch?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, they're actually running the camps right now at home as we speak.
That's your mom's baby. She oversees.
Say that again. What is the name of it?
It's Whispering Ponies Ranch, and they run therapeutic camping ministry back to back during this time of year. A lot of children who are wards of the state and that sort of thing. Yeah, they bring them in and they minister to them. And
there's the little horses. How many of those do you have? Do you know?
Well, I haven't asked for a while, but the last time I asked, it was up near 40.
Yeah.
But that was, that was a conversation I had prior to COVID, and I think because of how COVID shut the camps down, they might have scaled back a little, but I don't know.
Yeah.
What what is the purpose of the camp, and why do you use horses and all? To help children of what kind?
Well, first of all, a lot of these kids are foster kids, and when they arrive in their foster home, they are coming from some kind of an emergency situation, and they have been traumatized in a variety of ways. Some of them have been trafficked. And so they have learned from a very young age, authority figures cannot be trusted. Adults cannot be trusted. People who are parental figures can't always be trusted, and they become very guarded. But an animal has no ulterior motive for loving you. An animal simply has a pure love, and when they can break down that wall and begin to interact and feel that love, then they can begin to again trust that love can also come from other sources once they've opened up to that willingness to allow themselves to be loved. So the ponies, they really serve a very important purpose, and they really are performing their own kind of ministry, every day on the ranch, teaching these children something alive loves you for no other reason than the fact that you and it are breathing. And pretty soon that can transfer to another human being. Eventually the goal is they can realize God loves them. Wow. So it's a huge role that those ponies play.
Oh, that is. It's awesome. Beautiful. Pray for that.
Would you say that's your mother's ministry? More than your dad's?
Probably. I mean, he supports everything, and he's in it with her all the way. But if you were going to say who manages which arm of this whole, conglomeration, it would be she manages the whispering side, and he manages the Defender Skywatch side.
I would love to hold one of those horses.
Come over. We need some therapy.
Yeah, come on
We're on our way. We're coming over for some therapy. I'm not kidding.
David, you and I could do some therapy, right? I would love to hug one of those horses. I mean, that little teeny girl leading that horse wasn't that cute?
Precious.
Yeah, that was so cute. And I have therapy dogs.
They're not trained therapy dogs, people. They're just our dogs.
No.
And they're wonderful. They are a blessing from the Lord for us.
But all through my whole year of being in bed, and so the dogs will lay by me, and I'll pet them. And
Snowball and Lucky, if you want to know their names. I'm sure they'll put a picture of
I
them.
heard on TV the other day that petting an animal can reduce blood pressure.
Yes.
Did you know that? The horses are just, I just can't get over it. Maybe we could do a show at the ranch one day.
Oh, they would love that. Would be great.
You girls could help now and
That would be neat. Absolutely.
show us some horses and interview your
That
mom.
would be very cool. We could definitely probably talk about that for
Because
sure.
I'd like to get deeper into what makes that thing tick.
We're going to need to have, talk.
Look at that little girl. Looks like one of my grandkids.
Wow. God is good like that. Isn't that amazing? That unconditional love it is, with an animal. It's just amazing, isn't it? If it's just your dog at home, everybody, that they walk, it's like you leave the room for 5 minutes, you come back, and it's like they are so excited to see you again. And you're like, I just left you. Or can you leave me alone for a minute? Because they follow me everywhere all throughout the house.
Well, this book that we're going to talk about today, if you don't order a book this month, you better get this one because this is the #1 shock book of the month. This book will shock you. It shocked me. I'm still in shock over it. And so I can't wait to interview you girls about it. And I hope everybody will order this book, Dark Covenant, How the Masses Are Being Groomed to Embrace the Unthinkable, while the leaders of organized religion make a deal with the devil.
Wow.
That's this book. And boy, it's happening. It's scary. It's so happening. And we've been talking lately about Skywatch TV channel getting removed or deplatformed from the YouTube channel. I hate to bring up such a negative thing, but you guys...
Yeah, but it's what we're living in. Where it's exactly what we're talking about.
And your dad's on our board of directors, and we had a board meeting this week, and he brought it up at the board meeting. We asked him to, and he talked about it. Tell us about what that Skywatch has done to keep the programs on the air for their viewers. Your dad told me that something like, is it a 250,000, 750,000 viewers or something you had on
subscribers
on YouTube that
he knew the exact.
Yeah, and I'm sorry I don't know the exact number, but basically what happened is Silent Cries, our documentary. It's an expose on human trafficking and pedophilia, and what happened was Josh Peck posted a video called Revisiting Silent Cry, and it was just a shorter revisitation of what he's discussing in that documentary. Well, that was reported as cyberbullying, harmful, and labeled as malicious harassment, and it was taken down. The funny thing about it is that YouTube has a 3 strikes and you're out policy. We had no strikes, and yet the entire account was removed, and afterward they came in and went, ding, you got your first strike. So apparently they decided after the fact to go ahead and give us a strike. But if you followed us on YouTube and you are now looking for a new platform, which is available right now, we do have the personal Skywatch app, We have rumble.com/skywatchtv. We have our website, skywatchtv.com, our podcast, Roku and Apple TV apps and channels. And also you can go to our website and go to the drop-down list which says Watch Skywatch TV. And then there's an icon that says where to watch us, and that will tell you more information about where you can find us. And then, of course, I'm sure we'll be talking to you guys
And
also
you're
more
on
about
our
that.
network, too.
Yes.
Some of your programs are on our network. In fact, I've just been talking to people about putting all your programs on our network because they're such good programs.
They're all amazing.
Wow. Such
Top of the line.
great programs.
The
We
best.
appreciate you guys and all that you do. You've been such
But
a
here's the
huge...
thing I want people to understand. They took them off from, and they had like, I don't know, 750,000 viewers or something like that. There are people that supported them on YouTube, and it was just bam.
That's right.
Bam,
Over
I
one
mean,
video.
bam, taken off. Not brought back, just taken off.
And the entire channel, not one video that they
Right.
found harmful on
Their
some
whole
level.
network.
The whole channel, yeah.
And essentially, at the end of the day, it was because of defense of a child, a trafficked child. Our documentary, if you've seen Silent Cry, you know that the entire documentary is an expose of human trafficking, how that can happen and how that hurts a child, and the trends of the everyday more accepted pedophilia. So that's what got us to platform.
Okay,
We were
let's
in
get down to
defending of a
business. Let's
child.
just get down to business.
Amazing.
What is human trafficking? What does it mean?
Well,
what you were taken off, you had a documentary about it within one of your programming, right? And so because of that, they decided to cancel your whole network forever. Is what
With no
your father
explanation.
told me.
Have ignored all of our requests for more information or an appeal or anything like that. Just, we're done. Shut it down.
Why do they want to protect it?
The film was about human trafficking. It's an expose about basically human trafficking, for anybody who doesn't know, is basically any time a person is sexually exploited.
Yes.
And often these people are trafficked multiple times a day, up to 15 times a day. And some of these are young women and young men. Some of them are very young children. I mean, this is it's a very sick industry, and part of what was exposed in our documentary is how it's really happening right under our noses. We like to think it's somewhere else.
Exactly.
It's
Another
happening
country. It's
exactly
not,
in our backyard. It's happening.
Yeah.
You know, you're so powerful because I had Josh Peck on my program talking about this film. What shocked me the most is that when he made that statement, this is happening in our backyard. This is something that in America we don't want to face, we don't want to deal with.
What are the youngest children that are sex trafficking?
As young as 18 months is what I've heard.
Yeah.
And that I can't. I don't understand why, in defense of a person whose appetite is that, our channel got removed.
Exactly.
I mean, who are we defending here? This is messed up.
Their network was taken off the air because they were trying to help these kids be saved from this horrible thing. Is that right?
Yes, and this is the state that the world is in. This is why we wrote Dark Covenant, because that is a societal issue. YouTube is not a Christian network.
No.
It's not, but every single day, the voice of Christianity, preaching against sin, recognizing what sin is, being able to say, I won't tolerate this because my God will not allow me to tolerate this, is becoming hate speech. Christianity is becoming synonymous with hate speech. And when the voice of hate is being seen so loud, our voice of love needs to be that much louder. But we need to know how to balance understanding when to tolerate the sin. So you have a neighbor with tattoos and he smokes. This is a moment where you need to just set that aside and love forever.
Yeah, that's
love.
good. That's good.
But when you're talking about the safety of a child, we're talking about the things that we wrote about in Dark Covenant, the societal shift. We are Allie, you were talking at one point early on in the book about this moment where we've shifted towards a new day that is beyond the point of no return.
Yeah, it's true.
Right. We are there.
It's true.
We are there.
Yeah.
This is the point of no return.
Yes.
And it's hellish. And this is just the tip of the iceberg of what this story just happened to be out right now, and we're just talking about this particular part of it, because of them taking you off the network. This is what they do. This is the kind of country we're going to have totally. Is it anti-God, anti-Christ, anti-good? People that say bad is good and good is bad. They're trying to protect the pedophile, right?
The pedophilia.
Well, more than just the pedophile. This has happened. This is escalating. And actually, as much as there will be this kind of a dichotomy where two things are happening here. On one hand, the church will be silenced and crushed. Our voice will become less popular. We'll get to the point that we offend everybody if we even so much as recognize what sin is. That's the remnant. But the other church, so we're getting ready to meet this split here. We're looking at a day where the church topside, I'm talking about the legal church that really impresses personalities like the Antichrist and those who, pave the way for him. The church is going to be pseudo-Christian. In other words, we're going to keep the fluffy, unoffensive sides of the gospel while we completely destroy anything that was ever. We're getting to the point now where churches will do exactly what was said in the 1st and 2nd Timothy, where we are becoming the church of spot and wrinkle, the church of the tickling of the itching ears. We'll preach anything so long as we don't offend anybody, and those are the churches that are going to grow. Now, the churches that will continue to preach, this is a sin, don't do that, that's going to be seen as hate speech, those are going to dwindle. And listen to me, if you're a preacher out there and your church is getting smaller because you do not tolerate this nonsense, understand that when real, serious, hurtful, horrible, societal crazy hits the fan, and we're there, nobody will be able to lock your doors. Nobody will be able to lock your doors. The government will try. You might even have to hide what you're doing, but it is going to be, that's going to be the message that survives.
Wow. Yeah, that's it. Wow. You just put it.
I announced to my board of directors yesterday, I think it was.
Yeah.
Was it yesterday? Seems like a week ago. But I announced to my board that this year, you're going to see the Bible more and more be declared hate speech.
That's right.
This is, it's so very serious. You both are here today to talk about your new book, Dark Covenant. This book is shocking.
It is.
How did this book come to be over a breakfast of all things?
The two of you having breakfast, right?
Yeah, the two of us. Well, okay, so because we share an office, sometimes we have these moments where she will say to me, hey, I'm stuck, I've got writer's block, I'm working on this book and I'm stuck. And sometimes I'll do the same with her. Well, we had been working on 2 different books, and I had on my own felt compelled to write a book about how society was being groomed to embrace the unthinkable. Secular, Christian, some other religion, people in general, the crowd of people who live everywhere, are being groomed to embrace increased levels of depravity because there's an end game agenda to the direction that we're going. And I'll back up and say that the beast system will not be accepted on the secular level unless they are groomed as well. The beast system is not all about the church's failure only. The secular crowd is filled with people who have a good moral compass and a good education. They're not going to stand by and watch this kind of stuff take place. Groom the entire globe of people. And so I was writing on this. She, on the other hand, had a book that had its own directive that was about the religious side of all this. The church is making a deal with the devil. The institution is becoming like a cult. How does all this come together? Well, she was writing that side. So she called me, she said, I'm at writer's block. And I said, yeah, me too. Let's go to breakfast, because sometimes getting out of the office, shake it up, get some coffee, just get in a different setting. And she tells me, and as a reader/listener, I'll say, I think what I want to know next is this. Does that help? And she'll do the same for me. And I'm listening to her talk, and she's listening to me talk, and we're both saying, think you're writing the other side of my book.
Wow.
Because I know what to say to, I know what I want to say to the secular, just the world in general. She knew what she wanted to say to the church, but how do you bring these together and merge them to a message that's holistic and really means this is what's happening worldwide to everybody, not just secular, not just the church. So we took it home and we kind of put it all together and rebranded it and made an outline, and then we emailed Tom and we said, hey, we've got a book idea, we need to meet right away. And so we went to his office, or actually no, we met somewhere else, but anyway, and he starts listening, and we didn't tell him we want to put our books together. We just said, here's our book idea. This is, and then this, and now this, and we kind of lined it out in the outline. And right away, he's going, I'm in. And we're like, okay, so now what we have to say, we have a confession to make. This is the same 2 books we've been working on, but we want to put them together because we really think they're one. And that was the end of that. But that happened over breakfast.
And of course, all of his support came with a warning. He's like, you realize you are going to put your neck out on the chopping block. And it's like, nobody else is saying it. And Lord, here am I, send Aaron, but if at the end of the day Aaron doesn't work out, I guess I will do this thing that you're asking me to do. It is very scary. Some of the things that we point out about the church, see, there's the institutionalized church, and then there's, you know, the remnant, which we all believe and know the remnant. Your audience is made of the remnant. But then there's this thing that's happening in the middle, and I don't think very many people are aware of it, where there's a shift coming where there is going to split. The remnant cannot cohabitate with what is becoming the apostate superchurch of the Antichrist system. See, we're building the system before we have the man of sin to fill the throne. Right? How else would we be able to do that? Because when you actually consider what we're looking at here, eschatologically speaking and end times speaking, the Antichrist is not going to sit there and go, okay, line up for the mark of the beast, right here, single file line. That's not going to fool anyone. The only way to fool it is if the system is kind of in place and we have a major chaos before we need our answer man.
Exactly. And then he will rise and take his platform that we've already prepared for him.
And the answer man can't... It says in Revelation that he rides the beast before he... that he rides before he devours. This is a moment where he is making a friendship with the church, because the church itself, and I'm not just talking about Christianity, although Christianity is my heart, so that's what I mostly address in the book. I don't go very much into how other world religions will be a part of this, except for syncretization, they will be. And then now, look, if you look at what's happening with, if I may, really quickly, pluralization, the word, as it exists and as it works, pluralistic society represents a day where you can have a Christian living next to a Jew, living next to a Buddhist, living next to and everybody is allowed to worship freely and be private in their own and not have to answer to each other or be coerced in any way that they shouldn't have to. When pluralism and pluralistic society works as it applies to religious freedom, that's a wonderful thing. What's happening is that you have religious leaders, we've identified a few of them in the book, you have religious leaders that on one hand are saying, we want a pluralistic, healthy, religiously free society. But their agenda, their programming, their grooming, their conditioning is a sleight of hand, known in the world of magic as a prestidigitation. I'm making you look at this hand over here while this hand just popped out the rabbit. You don't know where it came from. It's called prestidigitation, and it means they're representing pluralism while they slip you syncretism. Syncretism is a blending of two religions together, meaning that the ultimate goal is to say God accepts the worship of all religions. Christianity is the same as Judaism, is the same as Buddhism, is the same as Hinduism, is the same as, stop me here. It goes on and on and on. And the idea that these things can blend, at least as far as Judaism and Christianity, and we have so many references early on in the book that says this is biblically prohibited, not happening. God cannot, will not accept the worship of all world religions. That's syncretism. That is a different goal than pluralism. Unfortunately, we have one being represented while the other one's being slipped into the
when we arrive at this one world church that is made up of all religions combined into one, what we have is a church that may still assert that they have left a platform for Jesus, but he will not be in the building at that time.
Wow.
And politics will be right in the middle of it, right?
Sure.
Oh, yes.
Each of you have had a dream that impacted your worldview and and particularly inspired this book.
The book actually starts with the dreams that we had. Hers took place in the 90s. Mine took place as we were writing the book. And it scared me so bad that I went to the core board people of Skywatch and said, guys, I'm shaking in my boots. I don't know what this means.
Really?
And it's really long, but I'll give you the short version. I had a dream that there were 6 flies that were hovering and zooming around like orbs of light. And they landed on a bed. And when they landed and their light went out, I was able to see that they were flies. And then a second later, they turned into angels. Now, the angels did many things. It's all described in the book. But the quick version is that they separated us and told us that they each had a message for us. There were 3 Christians in my dream: me, my mother, and a friend named David. Now, my mother is led by the heart and by the spirit first. And then she follows the Lord with her mind. Whereas I follow the Lord with my mind first. And because I'm in study all the time, Bible study.
They're researchers.
And then, of course, you know, the spirit and the idea that we follow the Lord with our heart, soul, and mind. It's there. It's just different order. It represents 2 very different kinds of Christians that both still get there and recognize, has a discernment to be able to recognize danger or deceit. And then David, whose name has obviously been changed, is a mutual friend of our family who will buy anything he hears. He doesn't recognize what Scripture is when it's being twisted. He's the kind of a person... means well. He means well. He's such a beautiful person, but he's the kind of person that when there becomes a group of Christian worshipers that are starting to edge more toward the cult side, I don't think he would recognize it.
Right.
Because he doesn't recognize the difference between a counterfeit gospel and the true gospel. So these flies landed on this bed. David was being treated in a hospital. These flies landed. A lot of other things happened, but by the end of the dream, I woke up and I was so terrified because I knew I came to the point where I recognized these angels were not what the Bible described angels to be. And I went and met with Allie, and I said, I don't know what to make of this. And at the end of the big presentation of what my dream was, we realized, wait a second, they were flies for a second. So we looked up flies, and I'm looking at every single fly I can find, everything, and we're not seeing a picture of what I had seen in my dream, but I described them to her. Blonde, silvery, almost mother of pearl. I mean, I had it, they almost look like they've got feathers on them. They're so beautiful. And I described them to her, and then we got to thinking, wait a second, in the biblical line of names, we run across Lord of the Flies, which is one of the names of Beelzebub, Satan, and I looked that up on my Bible Logos software and made a few interesting connections that it's not just Lord of the Flies, but it's Lord of a specific fly that swarms the Palestinian regions of the world every summer. And these are called drain flies, and they're nasty. They've got very powerful jaws. They can bite through hair and drain fungus. They're disgusting. This was the fly from my dream.
Because flies are horrible. So I'm trying to figure out how they turned into angels, because
and that was
flies
precisely
are
the point, right?
I mean, the flies are just nasty, nasty things.
Well,
in fact, I know in the middle of sometimes in a great sermon, you know, flies will come and land on your head while you're preaching or something. They're just evil. And now they put the drain fly on the screen. I don't know, my people do research so fast. And that is an ugly fly.
And so Joe, I went, and when I said, hey guys, what does this mean? Joe says, and Joe, if you know Joe, and you guys kind of do.
We kind of do.
You know that he is not the I prophesy guy.
No.
He never is. And he goes, I know exactly, so fast. He goes, I know exactly what your dreams mean. There's 3 kinds of Christians. You and Nita represent those who will follow either by heart first or by mind first, but you're going to discern. And there's that 3rd Christian that is exactly what your book is talking about. And I went, oh, there's our opener.
Yeah. Wow. It is what your book is talking about. And we have to know that, well, go ahead.
So you made this discovery about the flies in your dream and the grossness of it all. Is there anything else you want to add to that? Because that scares me. Because these flies, I know what flies are. I've studied enough of the Bible. The devil is the Lord of the flies. And flies are nasty. They'll land on cow manure and then land on your picnic.
Well, one
Go
thing,
ahead, I'm
I'll
sorry.
add that she's truncating the dream a lot. In the dream, she became suspicious, and she actually did the test of the spirits. And that was when she realized these are pretending to be angels, but they are not actually angels.
Yeah.
And that's kind of an important thing to understand about the dream.
Yes.
Right. And you wouldn't
We
know-
gotta
right.
we gotta be concerned in these last days about deception and knowing truth. That's why you have to study, study, study. That's why I beg you to read, to study the Word. And that's why we bring you some of the great, great writers and people, prophets. And I want you to read their books. I want you to study to show yourself approved, a workman that needeth not to be ashamed, rightly dividing the word of truth. You mentioned that a little bit. Do you want to add any more?
No, just that being able to discern that these angels were not real came from the test of the spirits, but you don't know the test of the spirits. You don't know the significance of it. You don't know the fullness of that test unless you have been in the Word.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And did you know
That's
only
true.
13%, I got a whole lot more where this came from. I won't talk forever.
Oh, it's so good, Donna,
13%.
though. We love you talking. We love us old people are learning from you. This is amazing.
Only 13, oh, thank
Amazing. They've done the research for us.
Only 13% of Christians in the West, professing Christians in the West, only 13% read their Bibles.
Wow.
13%.
Wow.
That means
Okay,
that the
is that
remaining
shocking?
80-something% are relying on their pastor to interpret it for them every Sunday morning. Now, what does a cult do?
Wow. Wow.
I need to shut up. What does a
No,
cult do?
what does a
No, you
cult
have to
do?
answer that
So
question.
wait, Donna. Okay,
I'll tell
Donna,
you.
so what does a cult do?
A cult leader, okay? They do
Yes.
3 things. The first thing they do is establish the Bible as the ultimate authority. Then they twist the scripture to fit their programming and their
Yeah.
agenda.
Yeah.
The very next thing that they do is to exploit their followers.
Wow.
So, if you're attending a church, and I'm not saying that this applies to every church in the West, I'm just saying it's increasingly becoming the churches in the West, that if you're attending a church and you're relying on your pastor to tell you what the word says, he is going to get it wrong sometimes, even if he means well.
Right.
And if he doesn't mean well, he's going to get it wrong every time, and you are going to be exploited as a result.
Wow.
That's why
This
I
is why
beg
the
you to
church is becoming
study,
a cult.
study, to learn. And that's what this program is about. We bring you every day experts. We bring you the prophets. We bring you the people who have something to say that are studying. And so we bring it for you to study. And then we encourage you to get the books and to read the books. So I'm hoping you'll get this book. This is the most powerful book that I have read this year. And it's a bit scary. And
but it's what's going on.
The Dark
and
Covenant.
It's a wake-up call for all of us, and I just want to say, right at the top here, to both of you, to Allie and to Donna, thank you for saying yes to God on this,
Yes,
because
amen.
this
Thank you.
was an assignment from God.
Wow.
Wow.
For these
Thank you.
2 young women
Yes, it was.
to put down with pen and
We're
paper, put
gonna-
down paper.
we're going to have them back tomorrow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because we're almost out of this first hour already, and we haven't gotten
so
into the book
good.
yet.
Wow.
And I want you to order the book. Get it right now. Be one of the first ones to have it. This is their brand new book, Dark Covenant. And you can get it for a gift of $25, and that includes shipping and handling, right, Nana?
Yes, that's right. We also have made available the 3, which is the Friends and Family offer, 3 of the Dark Covenant books for a donation of $55. And I really believe this is a must-have. This is a page turner, but ultimately, and I told the ladies right before, I said, your research, the research, the studying from the word that they have done in this book, I could not put this down. This is every home should have this book. Every parent, every teacher, any person who is literally and we all are. We all have influence in our life, but we have to understand what's at hand right now. We have to educate ourselves. So I have put together, Dad, for this book, I've put together the Baker's Dozen, which is 13 of the Dark Covenant. That's for a donation of $125 to the ministry. That includes shipping and handling. And we only do Baker's Dozens when we believe and know that our partners have to get this message out. And so call us right now at 1-888-988-1588. You can also go to the website, jimbakershow.com, to place your order.
Order it, read it, put it in your library, give it to your teenagers. They need to know the truth.
It's shocking.
And if we're not careful, we're going to believe lies. This is what the Bible warns us, that will be lies in the last days.
Yes.
And we need to know the word of living God. You say that society is being groomed to embrace the unthinkable. What do you mean by this?
Well, what I mean is society is being reshaped right now. The worldview of people generally across the board is being groomed to accept and tolerate heightened levels of depravity. We've kind of touched on it earlier this episode, when we're talking about, pedophilia. The fact that that our entertainment and our media, 90% of everything that you see is coming from 6 corporate voices.
Wow.
Well, and when you consider that 6 corporate voices are coordinating 90% of the media, and this is including newscasting, this is including sportscasting, this is including streaming services, TV series, movies, comic books, printed magazines, all of this. So when you see something come up in one place as a headline, and then it comes up over here as entertainment, and it comes up, there's a coordinated effort to condition society as a whole to want or believe in or, advocate for whatever that is. And if you look really quickly, there are old movies that would not even dare to utter one profane word. Fast forward several decades, and we have TV series right now, and I have one particularly in mind, but I won't name it. But it's a actual series that looks like a comic book superhero show, and I kid you not, it has full-on pornography happening in the scenes. And this is not just me, Allie Henson, conservative Christian, saying that's too much for me. There's an author from Cosmopolitan magazine who said that this show had scenes that were so jacked up it seared the inside of her eyelids forever with things she could never unsee. This is Cosmopolitan.
Very liberal
so
magazine.
I'm talking about increased levels of depravity which are being accepted across the board because our society is being conditioned. And by the way, here's a scary thought. The younger a child is, the easier they are to condition.
Sure.
So recondition adults, that's one thing.
Yeah.
But get them young and raise them. All of a sudden, from one generation to the next, you have vastly changed the trajectory of the worldview, and things that these people said, well, that's unspeakable, it's unthinkable, society will never embrace that. This generation's going, yeah, we need to advocate for that. This is a civil rights issue. And all these things, it can really get out of control, and it is getting out of control. Some things that are being floated right now, besides pedophilia as an orientation, cannibalism, euthanasia. Let's see, I've got more written down here.
You write about it. It's in here. It's in this book.
Yeah, no, it really is.
It really is.
It is.
Yes.
It is. And so on one hand, we make it entertainment. We make these funny shows where cannibalism is funny. And then on the other hand, we have this company called Bite Labs, which is talking about taking celebrity cells and lab-growing meat out of their cell samples in a lab, blending it with fruits, vegetables, making it into a sausage, and then selling that so that people can order sausage that's flavored like their favorite celebrity. But when you make cannibalism light, oh, this is funny, this is cute, then the idea of a celebrity sausage, these younger people don't think, hold on, this is unthinkable. They go, oh, it's kind of like that one show I watched. That's fun, let's try it. Doesn't even cross their mind, this is cannibalism.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? And this is the kind of stuff that we're on the edge. And if this Bite Labs thing is a joke, they have pushed it for 7 years without saying so. They have for 7 years stood behind this as a serious dialogue. So if they get, the legal clearance and the allowance to actually do the things they're talking about, and the technology's old school, they already can do that.
Yeah.
So it's really just a matter of getting to the point where the public interest has been generated and the legal hoops are arranged. this could happen. This is only one way that we're on the cusp of crossing into a point of no return, and it's just crazy that we're even having this conversation, honestly.
We're having
you
the
know,
conversation.
so the stuff that I put in the book, she wrote a lot to the church and to religion. The things that I really focused on, I would really hope to say, if you don't agree with us, you know, about the Bible, if you're not in church, if you are not a born-again Christian, please read this book anyway. If you have children, if you have grandchildren, if there's one person in your life that you care about where the world is in 10 or 20 years for their sake, please read this book. We also talk about manipulation tactics and how they work in interpersonal relationships, how they play out large scale. Knowledge is power. You need to know this stuff to navigate your own relationships, to navigate your to navigate what's happening in society around you. Seeing what's wrong and advocating against it becomes powerful, even if you personally don't agree with my biblical theology. So I would just say that.
That's so good, Alan.
Wow. Because there's that old adage that, you know, what one generation allows in moderation, the next allows in excess.
Wow.
Yeah, and that's going to continue to be the thing that we go toward for. And it will continue over and over and over again until we get to the book of Revelation and what's being described there. And as you said behind the scenes earlier, we're there. We're there. We're at the very beginning of a lot of this. It's scary.
Yes, we are. It is
Donna,
scary
you
for
said the modern Western church institution has become a cult. You actually, I think, mentioned that once.
Yeah.
And how is the modern church split into two groups in this same thing? Let's talk about this.
And I went there. I realized I went there. I had to. I felt that the Lord was specifically saying, use the word cult, and then he showed me how. So if you look at the word cult, actually, as it's defined, it's a system of religious beliefs and ritual, or a religion regarded as unorthodox or spurious. So if the church I go to I like, but you see it as a cult, that's why the definition of the word is very hinky and hard to define. But etymologically speaking, if you look at the origin of that word, it relates to when a group of adherents of a certain religion. So in the case of Christianity, go back all the way to ancient Israel, they relied on Yahweh for the rain, the harvest, all of these things. They celebrated this thing together. A person or group that walked away from that and specifically turned their back on the doctrinal tenets of their own faith, that was a person that represented a cult or a cult leader. That is the very, very origin. Now, listen to the definition of the word apostasy. A public denial of a previously held religious belief and a distancing from the community that holds to it. Apostasy and cult is the same word. The only thing that differentiates it is because our modern society wants to say, oh, I don't know, my church isn't a cult. I mean, we worship this weird effigy in the front, but it's cool. I mean, it's the God Svatovid. He does these neat things. There was a church in Binghamton. I've picked on them a lot since this. Sorry, Binghamton. They actually booted the communion table out of the way and set up a light display of the god Svatovid, the god of the four cardinal directions, and also the god of war and divination. We're talking about like cartomancy, fortune telling. This is an affront in every way. But this is a Christian Presbyterian church.
Wow.
So when you look at and why did they do it? So you ask, were they just like worshiping this god at random? No, they had a Luma Light Festival and they wanted to reach the culture. You see what's happening?
Yes.
And the word cult is rooted from the ideas of culture, cultivate. When you look at what is actually happening, we are facing a split. So to get back to your question, the split is going to go like this. We're going to have the cult over here, and it's going to be the cult of Western Christianity. This is the church that will survive and thrive topside and legally under the beast system. So when the man of sin shows himself, that's going to be the Christian church that's thriving on the outside.
Wow.
And a lot of Christians in those days, Christians, air quotes, are going to come forward and say, oh, the book of Revelation was nonsense. We don't have to go underground and hide. We can be proud of our Christianity, which is also, by the way, at that time going to be syncretized with every other world religion. Then there's going to be the remnant. A lot of people are afraid of this. The remnant's going to have to go underground. There will be persecuted. But listen to me. Listen to me at home. This is a cleansing. Don't be afraid of it. God will never leave the remnant.
Amen.
Ever.
Amen.
Wow.
We should not.
right.
We should not fear.
Right on.
That's right. Amen.
We as the true body
Yes,
of Christ.
right.
Because the
Amen.
word body has gotten the true body of Christ. Listen to me, the true body of
This is
Christ
scary
wins in the
stuff,
end.
by the way.
But we win in the end.
Yeah.
And so we
Right.
have to
But we
remain
need to
strong.
know.
And we shouldn't be afraid of the moment that the church splits into two and one of them is the harlot.
Yeah.
Described in Revelation.
That's right.
As being in cahoots with the beast until he gets what he needs out of her and devours her.
That's right.
And the other one that remains into the very end.
But we see the deception.
Wow.
Exactly what you're saying is already developing. So what does it mean by the leaderless cult?
In order for the grand deception of what is being described in Revelation, like I said earlier, the beast is not going to sit there and say, line up over here for your mark. It has to be a system that is by the evil powers that exist from every different direction in secular society as well as religiosity, this cult Christianity that is building itself right now. There is going to be a moment where, what's it called? Order ab chaos. It's Latin for order out of chaos.
Okay. Right.
And what that describes, in fact, that's a tenet of the 33rd degree Freemasons, but what that describes is a moment in time when the world gets so chaotic that we are vulnerable. And we say, we need an answer man. And the man of sin is going to fix every single fathomable problem. He's going to come in and fix, I've got a list here, world hunger, global strife, disease, racial inequality, class inequality, countless other philanthropic and humanitarian efforts that a religiously, socially, and politically fragmented world has never been able to solve. When that guy stands up and says, I got the answer,
Right.
Yeah.
that's going to be the day. That's the day that we're looking at.
Yes.
Well, so the question, the leaderless cult, that is what we are forming by being the church of spot and wrinkle, the church of apathy, the church that goes, oh, I'm a Christian, that means I go to church on Sunday morning, la, 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 la. That is the church of apathy. We need to get our nose in the book and keep it there, because if we don't, we're not going to discern anything.
That's right.
So the leaderless cult is what we are building now. And so when the chaos, the order out of chaos happens and the man of sin rises to take over that church, that's the leaderless cult will become the one that is fathered by the Antichrist.
Wow.
And my heart hurts for these people that are in the mix that they mean well, and they're going to church and they're listening to the devotionals that are being given. Yeah. And you know, they are not intentionally building a leaderless cult for the beast to step in and take over.
Sure.
They are misled, but there's a very simple remedy for this. Like she said, get in your word, study, pray, talk to God yourself every single day. Don't just go to church on Sunday and listen to the sermon and then think that's all you need. Your spiritual feeding is on you.
Yeah.
It is not your pastor's job to spiritually feed you. It's helpful, and I'm glad that you have a body of Christ to go to if you do, and if you don't, it's really beneficial and you should find one. But the bottom line is, you are the one that has to get yourself close to God. Nobody else buys you that ticket. And so you've got to get in your word and stay in your word and pray for discernment and pray for God to reveal his word to you and his meaning and the prophecy and all of that. There's a very simple remedy for a lot of this, and that is that believers get back in their word and learn it for themselves.
Yeah.
You know what?
We're out of time.
Oh, gosh. Oh,
You'll be back tomorrow, though. And we're going to jump right in tomorrow. No news or anything. Just start with your book, because we got a lot more to ask you. And this is so important. Listen to me. I hope you get the book. We love it. And
Dark Covenant, how the masses, this is the subtitle, how the masses, not the minority, the masses are being groomed to embrace the unthinkable while the leaders of organized religion make a deal with the devil.
you need to order the book and read it. It's so powerful, so in-depth. Maricella's been reading it, and she just said it's an amazing book, too.
Absolutely. And we've
Lori's
just
reading
skimmed
it.
the top of this
We
right now.
have.
We've not even gone into depth of what they write in this book. So order yours right now. You can receive one for a donation of $25 to the ministry. We have the Friends and Family offer, which is 3 of the Dark Covenant books for a donation of $55. And better yet, the Baker's Dozen 13 Dark Covenant books for a donation of $125 to the ministry. But I just truly look at this, I'm like, this is priceless, ladies. What you have done, what you are sharing with the church, it is relevant, but it's where we are right now.
And where we're headed.
You know, there's so much being done around you, and you keep saying, I don't get this.
That's right, yes.
You got to stop compromising what you believe
Yes.
by letting them get by with this in your mind, at least. You understand? What about when the new president took over and the first thing he does is he dumps out the Keystone pipeline, right? Kills the income of thousands and thousands of people, millions of dollars of income. And plus, now we will become once again not the #1 supplier of gas and oil to the world. We got to. How can you have leaders that underline and undermine your country? This is what's happening. And this is what's going to happen in the church. The church is turning away from even common sense, from the Bible. The Bible is the foundation. So we must know what the Bible says. And you two have written a very in-depth book, and I'm hoping everybody will order it. We're putting out our SOS this month, asking everyone to use the checks.
Yes.
Because we can't use debit cards anymore.
Yes.
For a
right
while.
now.
We're working
Yeah,
on
we're
getting them
working
back
on it.
again. But we fight a warfare, people.
Yes.
We must have God's anointing to stay alive.
Yes, amen.
And we need God's people to stand with us.
Yes.
And so we put out the SOS to save our stations. And we've asked as many as possible to give $1,000 this month to bring us forward, to keep us from going down under. And God's going to do it.
Amen.
God's going to save this whole network
Yeah.
if everyone does something. So tomorrow we're going to have Donna and Allie back with us, and we're going to share some more about this book. I wanted to go through it. I wish I could read what's on it. It says, how the progression of media entertainment proves that mankind is headed for unspeakable travesty. This is what you learn in this book. The method by which the puppet masters controlling the public narrative manipulate and shape the masses worldwide. How society is being gradually groomed to embrace the unthinkable in preparing for the enforcement of the mark of the beast. All of this, I could go on for 10 minutes reading what's in this book.
Powerful.
And it's like no other book, I want to tell you that. It's like no other book that I've ever offered. So I'd like you to read the book. Order it right now. What's the phone number, Lori?
Call us at 1-888-988-1588 or go to the website, jimbakershow.com. You can write us at P.O. Box 7330, Branson, Missouri, 65615. And this book is a now
And anyone who
book.
could just give an offering of any kind, send an SOS to us, okay?
Yes.
Yes.
Save our station.
Yes.
God loves you. He really does. Thank you, Donna and Allie, for being
Thank
with
you,
us.
guys.
See you
amazing.
tomorrow.
You're amazing. Love them.
Thank you for watching today's program. We need your support now more than ever. Call us today, 1-888-988-1588. You can also write to The Jim Baker Show at P.O. Box 7330, Branson, Missouri 65615. Or you can make your donation and order of other products online at our website, jimbakershow.com. That number again is 1-888-988-1588. Thank you for your continued prayers and financial support. It's because of partners like you that we can continue to broadcast the gospel of Jesus Christ around the world.